Okay, so I tried something that I've been thinking about for a long time, but have never tried for myself or anyone else. And that was to take the photograph I was going to work from and blur it so that you would be able to see more how the start really looks instead of like looking at this finished, very detailed photograph and then trying to figure out what is she doing from that. So I blurred it some. If you squint at it, you can still see it pretty much in focus if you want, so it's not super blurry. But I'm going to start with this and then I'll switch over to the not blurred photograph. Okay, so I'm using this red paper because my scene is predominantly green, that's the word. Down here at the bottom, I have blue tape, which you can't see, but that's marking off that 1/2 inch. And here I'm just going to go ahead and put in this 1/2 inch here too. I don't know, it's actually kind of so dark in my studio that the blue tape is not really bothering me like it used to when I would walk up to other people's work and see it. And maybe just because I only have it on the bottom, I just don't, it's not bugging me as much, and it's keeping my paper much better attached. And it might be a little darker blue than what some people have had. But I do always want to have that edging around so that I'm not composing clear to the edge of my paper, that I'm realizing where my mat will come and that my composition is going to stop where that mat would be. So I was aware that I got this, it is kind of in the middle, and but I decided that that would be okay because the top and the bottom weren't going to be exactly alike anyway. The sky is going to be smaller than the amount of reflections, and so I'm just trying to kind of place things now. In a general way. I mean, I'm trying to do it as well as I can, but I'm also not like trying to make it perfect. I'm not spending, well, I'm trying to make it perfect, but I'm not going to spend forever in any one area. I'm going to keep working all around and try to make sure that I get everything where it needs to be compared to everything else. Yeah, so I guess, in fact, this tree, so this is that kind of place where, well, that tree doesn't overlap the mountain behind it at all, and it in fact is kind of right on the edge of it. So I have to make a choice to either have it go above the tree or to have some space here. So it's very difficult to make one thing look like it's in front of another thing if that thing is just touching it. So like to leave the tree just like this, your drawing doesn't give you any added information about whether this is in front or this is in front. So if I do this a little bit, which is one choice, and bring that higher, which I'm not sure I like that, that's one way I could deal with it. Or I can make the tree a little smaller than the mountain. But what I try to do, it's something I pretty much always try to do is avoid having things just touching. And I'm well aware that when one is taking photographs, it's hard. You know, I don't know, either I'd have to take a lot of photographs every time, which I don't know why I still don't, but it's hard to take photographs and be sure that you don't have things just touching. But the good thing is you're not a photographer, and so that means that you can change things in your drawing. And here too, this is another place that I like the idea that I can see that there's a little bit of where that tree is cut out, and I can see that further away tree line kind of sticking through here, but I want to be sure that the bottom of that tree line is further back. And that's the way it works. The further back something is, the further away from you something is, the farther back it will be, or the higher up it will be on your picture. And I'm also I'm putting in some of this light and shadow because I find it hard to tell how big things are going to be when they're just outlines. And as long as you're not working on white paper, you can do this. You can draw in your lights and darks with your charcoal. I just want to check. Yeah, so this and this are the same. So the reflection is equal distance from me as the land. And then this is the light part here, and this is the dark part. I didn't do anything else to this photograph, and I don't remember where this photograph came from. I don't know if I took it. I don't know if it was something I saw somewhere that someone else took. I'm sorry, I don't know, but that would be something kind of good to keep track of. I do try to do an accurate drawing, because then when I start my color I can focus just on the color and not have to keep focusing on the drawing. But yep, I always make mistakes, so and the height of those trees is the same, it's exactly the same up here as it is in the reflection. So, you know, I'm sure I should know something about that, like I should know why or how or whether reflections equal the thing that's reflecting and why they might not, and I don't know. So my advice would be just, you know, like always, just always look. That what we're up to here is learning how to see, not learning how to copy, but learning how to see what's happening. Now, so here, this is kind of interesting because these guys up here, here's this line of the mountains back here coming up and across. And it's going to be darker and make those trees silhouette right there. And then the little trees that are further away are going to have a little light. And then this is going to need to be higher, so I don't know if that's the way that goes. That's got to be higher. That's that one. This is this one. And then this is going to have to be higher too now. That's good, because I felt like my sky was too big. Okay, so I'm going to say that's good. And then there's going to be sky here. And just a little shorter with everything down here. So the good thing about being this kind of painter is you don't have to know anything. You just have to be able to continually increase your ability at observation. Whereas if you're more of an academic painter, then you have to know stuff. You have to know how to paint a tree. In this type of painting, you don't have to know how to do anything. You just have to know how to see what you're looking at and then interpret it. And the more of a formula you know, the worse off you are. So the less you can know, really, honestly, the better. Okay, so now I think that's good. I'm ready to start my color. The good thing about working on the orange is I've already kind of got my weirdo green color. If I don't want to do any other, I've already got a weird base for my green. If I don't want to do any other weird things, if I want to go straight to green, I can do that more successfully on the red paper than on gray paper because I have the red coming through. I'm going to start with the sky, kind of like usual. I was a little tempted to do something else, and I have three things going on in my sky. I have the sky part, and I have the clouds and light and the clouds and shadow. So I'm going to start with the clouds in shadow, and usually that's how I work if I'm not, nope, that would not be the clouds in shadow. If I'm not drawing everything in, then like on flowers, for instance, if I'm not drawing in all the light and shadow and the petals, I'll always start with the shadow color first because I can always come back and put the lights on top, but sometimes it's very hard to get the darks on top if you get the lights in the wrong place. So that's the only thing you really ever have to remember about pastels, is that it's easier to get lights over darks instead of darks over lights, and that's because the dark pastels are physically harder than the lighter colors. They have more binder. It takes more binder to hold them together, and so they don't go down very well on the softer, lighter colors. I was kind of hoping I'd do a better job on the clouds too because they're so mushy and I can't see the kind of detail that I could see before I blurred out this photograph. Okay, so now I've got some trees that really look yellowy, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them in there. And I'm not going to use the same colors in the, I'm not going to just repeat this. I did the sky, but with the land you can see, and maybe the sky too, honestly, I don't know, but I definitely can see it with the land, that the land colors in the reflections are darker than the land colors themselves. So by blurring this picture, I'm able to make it have a sense of just what you would see if you squinted, which is you just see the big patterns of lights and darks, and that's all I'm going to start with in my painting. And I'm trying to start as broadly as I can with as few colors as possible. So this is my effect of the light, which is kind of a golden sunny light coming across all the light areas in my close-up part of my painting. And then my shadow, I'm sort of blue. And I guess I'll go ahead and do all those guys too. A little too dark for back there, I think. So I'm going to lighten up the shadow on those little trees. And then I'm going to come back and put the light on them, and that light is not nearly as greenish as as yellowy as the trees that are a little closer to me. Oops, I think I made one fewer tree. So I'll do that. I'm trying really hard to keep my pastels that I'm using somewhere different than in the middle of my paint box. Okay, so then, yeah, so right here, this is a pretty dark color, and if I squint, it seems like it's just as dark as these things, but maybe, I don't believe that. I'm going to see if I can add some of this darker purple into here, and then maybe that would help that come forward. I'm not sure if it did, actually, because it is purple, but it looks so gray. And then I'm just going to try this again back here, that same shadow color. And I'm going to, oh, here's what I think. Maybe those are too dark right there. So maybe I could lighten up the shadows on those trees that are in that in between. We'll see. And then back here, there's so much atmosphere and stuff. So it is kind of this, it does look kind of still greenish, but I can't use that because I use that in the sky. So let's just see. I honestly, as I always say, I try not to think about this stuff very long because it's like all the thinking in the world doesn't do anything like actually seeing it. So yes, like right that's way too bright a green. So let's see if I can turn that down. Tone it down. Not with that. Let's try violet. Always a good shot. Right, so that might be okay. I don't know why I jumped back. I guess I just thought maybe I could do a better job on that color than I could on the one in between. But now let's see if I can get this. Some of my drawing doesn't seem right, and this is, I'm not going to leave this way, but I'm just going to start it this way. Well, I'm not going to leave anything the way it is right now, so I guess that's a ridiculous thing to say. So just seconds ago I said you want to be sure that you use the darker colors first and then the lighter colors, but something like that, it was okay. So sometimes you get away with it. It's just what is easier is to do dark first. All right, so let's see what I think about all this in here. Nothing really is dark, that dark. It's too dark for over here. And then I've got those sort of blue mountains, which I'm just going to use this, I think. Okay, so so I've worked on it for 20 minutes, and I can already tell, like, now my drawing is so bad that I don't feel like I can work on it anymore without doing something about my drawing. So I'm just going to come back with my charcoal, and this one needs to be a little taller. I need to be sure I don't lose track of that little dark in there. It's pretty important to me because it shows. Well, I don't know what it shows, but it's a drawing, it's a marker for my drawing, so I don't lose track. That should have been a little lighter right there. That's the land. Here's this, then this really, This needs to be in there, that dark part. Oops, okay, that angles back more. So I prefer to separate drawing and painting, so that when I'm drawing, I'm really thinking about where the drawing goes. And you can know, if you've watched me very much, you know I make mistakes on my drawing all the time. So I need to be able to just focus as much as possible on one thing. And then once my drawing is kind of under control again, I can come back and focus again on my color. And this, to me, it seems like now that once I've got it started, I could divide it into three things. So I'm going to do that. Okay. Is that really bright tree? These guys. And now there's this tree right here, and then this tree, and this tree. Okay. Oh, and up here, I guess, too. All right, so this comes down, that really bright tree. This tree is a little shorter. This tree is getting a little taller. This tree is getting a little taller. This tree is kind of leveling off. And then I have this tree that comes down here. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's this little weird thing sticking out. And this tree, dark area. And I can do that too with my charcoal. I just put that in a little darker. And now this needs to These trees are weird, aren't they? A little hand sticking up there. So probably something will have to be done about that. All right, so now I have, I can see a little bit of what I'm up to, and now I'm going to come back, and so that's like about 25 minutes now. I'm going to come back and I'm going to make the colors better. That's going to be my goal. And I'm going to start with the sky again. The same color I used before. I need something different, some blue maybe. Well, what the heck? The same blue I just used in the... And I'm going to try to come up now to my outlines. Oh yeah, I went to this show this weekend, and it's like the fanciest art club place, art organization in Rhode Island, and well, there was a lot of really good work. And then, but the main thing I just kept thinking is that people were just doing more detail than they really needed to do, and that's what made me like that the detail they were adding in their paintings wasn't helping. I mean, maybe it helps you sell paintings because they look like they were worked on longer, which is, something I have worried about. But I saw several artists who, and the interesting thing too was in their studios, they had great big flat screen TVs, and that's what they were using for their monitors to paint landscape from. But both of these artists seem like, well, one for sure, because I talked to her a long time. The other guy was a little too busy talking to people that might actually buy something. But I talked to this one woman a long time, and she paints outdoors a lot, and that's what she loves to do. But then, there's a lot of time in the winter when people end up painting indoors, and I don't know, I'm not sure people know how to set up to do still life and stuff indoors anymore, because none of these studios had north light, which would mean and all of them had light that was coming in from different sides of the room. So anyway, the paintings that were done outdoors or done to make look like they were done outdoors were just so free and rich and beautiful and exciting. And then the paintings that were done indoors or done from photographs, I totally get it, is that you can work forever on a photograph. You never have to be done. You just pick away at it and pick away at it, and your goal becomes to make it look as much like the photograph as you can, and that's not the goal when you're outside. For one thing, you don't have the time. Everything's changing, and you're just trying to catch this really fleeting impression. So that made me think, this is what all led to this idea of making the photograph out of focus and seeing how that would work. Yeah, so see, I can't, that land, there's not enough value contrast between the land and the sky, so I don't know exactly what I need to do. Like, I might need to lighten the sky, I might need to do both things, but I can't be 100% sure until I keep going a little more and try work on some other stuff. So that's another reason, is that you just don't know. You just don't know until you've done more. Don't know why I did that exactly. I don't know. I was compelled. All right, so that's, I went over too far. I didn't leave my shadows. So I was talking to this person this weekend, also the person who likes to go out and paint landscape, but she does, she had some really good works too, and they were really nicely priced. Not ridiculous. Anyway, but she does oil painting outside, and when I mentioned to her that I mostly did pastels, she was really in shock, like, how can you stand to carry so much stuff out there? And I don't know, because I didn't talk to her anymore. I'm hoping maybe someday I'll talk to her again, but I wonder if she just thought you had to have each one pastel for each specific color that you might see instead of being able to combine them. She's never done pastels, but that's this great thing is that because I'm not looking for the exact perfect color, because I know I don't have it even, I'm doing all these combinations, and the minute you start doing combinations, you have so much potential for creating new colors that, it's that they're factorials, so it's like 1 times 2 times 3. If you have 3 pastels, that's how many more colors you can get, and it's exponential. So you don't really have to have a huge box if you're doing multiple layers of colors. And sometimes I think you're better off not to have a huge box because when you have a huge box, you're much more likely to try to find the exact color. Whereas, no matter, anybody who's painted outside for a minute knows that there's not enough greens no matter what you do. So that you've got to do combinations to make your greens. And that, in this case, using the red paper, that gives me a very unusual color underneath my greens that I'm starting with. And if I didn't have the red paper, I would be using a weirder selection of colors, under my greens. But I've got that red going, so I can be a little more realistic. No. And I'm not, I just had a little momentary like, oh no, because just there for a second, I realized I was trying to make it, I was worrying too much about having it be the perfect color, which it's not going to be yet. So, so try not to worry. Okay, let's try this. It's just this little piece of a more expensive pastel in my paint box, and I always want to use them. They're just something they just attract you. But then it's softer and it's not, kind of causes trouble. So I just took it out of my box. Okay, so just going to get all of this covered one more time. Like I said, I don't know what to do about this weird little thing going on up here. I don't like it. I do want a darker. All right, I've got to come back over this. So that's too blue. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to put some purple on it too. Oh, and I missed this place. Let's come back with a little darker there. See, this is definitely not dark enough. I'm just going to point that out. See what else I could use in here. Yeah, see, I'm kind of getting that thing. I've got quite a few layers of pastel going now. but that's better. That would have been better. That would kind of good in here too. I've heard things, you know, like people don't ever use a color just in one place. That's not something I normally think about, particularly I'm just mentioning it now, that it's something you hear people say, that you should never have just a color that's only shows up one spot. I don't know if it's true. Up here. What the heck? I just put purple there too. Because why not? The clip is bugging me. It is the nice thing about the tape, it doesn't bug me. I kind of like the way this happens up here. See, I think this too light down there though. It's still too light. Back to the purple. Let's just see if I can do anything about light on these trees right here. I don't know what I'm going to do about those. I might have to just really change them. All right, so I worked on this for 38 minutes. Oh God, did I work? Yes, I did work on the sky. Okay, but maybe I should do a little more to that, right along that line of the ridge there. I don't know how I let that get so lumpy. All right, I'm gonna, it's really close, but the sky is a tiny bit lighter than the land, so I'm just gonna lighten it all along that edge. So I am thinking about color first and value second, but if you have the right color, you'll have the right value. And what's even more important is the right relationships between the colors and the values. So you can't really judge one thing without all the other stuff. And then I let this get away from me again, so I'm just going to redraw. I don't like it running downhill right off at the edge here, because this is coming downhill so quickly. I just want to be sure this other one doesn't follow that same line. And just put that back in a tiny bit. Yeah, it's way too light. Okay, wait. Oh, here's the right purple. Okay. And this is too dark too, so let's see what we can do there. Yeah, and you know what else I think, at least when I look at it on the screen, is that this I let get too big, this light along that bottom edge. I don't want it so big. All right, well, golly, one problem leads to another. I don't care if I knock it down a little bit. It's okay, because when I spray it, that's going to knock it way down. And then I can just bring it back up again. Just want to make those trees and stuff look a little bigger. Oh yeah, and then we have some other stuff that goes on in here that I totally left out. All right, and then the other thing I really like about pastels that nothing else, there's no other medium you can work in that has this quality, is that after I spray it, it's going to remass it for me. I'm not going to have to do that like of my own accord, just say, oh no, I've got to take this oil painting right back down to the beginning stages and, you know, wipe out all the work I've done. Or in watercolor where like, oh geez, made a lot of mistakes there. Well, that's cooked and I'll just have to start another one. Whoops. Yeah, so, you know, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to spray the heck out of it. And I know I have to because it's not finished and it's getting to have too much pastel on it where it can't be worked on more to make it more accurate. Whoops. I do not know what to do about these trees. Yeah, so the thing to remember if you're going to spray it, yeah, I'm going to put more red back in them. If you're going when you're ready to spray, that you have to be prepared and willing to work on the whole thing all over again. And if you're not prepared for that, then you don't want to spray it. You just want to say, well, that was the best I could get that. And I'll try again next time. Okay, that's it for right now.